What do you think? He says that he will remain on as prime minister until the contest is held within the Conservative Party, which could take months. What do you think should happen next?
I don't think that's tenable, and I'll tell you why. 59 ministers, some of them very senior, some of them very junior, but 59 people who were part of the apparatus of this government have resigned over the course of the last 3 days. It is a stunning number. I mean, we can't even run the country without these people. And most of them, in their resignation letters, called for a return to decency, to honesty and truthfulness in public life. The implication, of course, being very clear that Boris Johnson had lied. Boris Johnson had not told the truth and was therefore no longer fit to serve in office. Well, if he wasn't fit to serve when they wrote these letters, how is he fit to serve for what I think will be about a 10-week period? So whilst in some ways I thought the Johnson speech, given the circumstances, was quite composed, quite dignified, given that on a human level, obviously you have to feel sorry for somebody who's finished up in this mess. But I really think there's going to be more internal battles over the next few days. It would have been cleaner and better and simpler, in my view, if he'd appointed Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab and said, hey, you become the interim leader, take yourself out of the leadership election, and I will, order the removal van and go. So I'm afraid, I feel that what he said in that speech is a recipe for more conflict to come within the Conservative Party.
How do you think about how the Conservative Party thinks about the potential successor? I mean, you have made the criticism that Boris Johnson was elected as a conservative, but really governed as a liberal, and was hardly the conservative that he purported to be in 2019 when he had that landslide win. And so, as the Conservative Party regroups, who do you think they put forward? Somebody, in reaction to Boris Johnson's what you call liberalism, so a more conservative person, or what's the fallout here?
And obviously what confuses things a bit for an American audience is that Boris did back Brexit. Now, he backed it quite late. Whether he really believed in it, or whether it was for career opportunity, we'll never know the answer. But yeah, I mean, look, we've seen taxes going up. We've seen the size of the state massively increase, immigration reach record levels, and a near obsession with net zero, which is seen as shedding manufacturing jobs and not even producing energy, which we have an abundance of in our country. So for all of those reasons, the Conservative Party, the Conservative movement, needs to take a good, cold, hard look at itself. And it needs to pick somebody who backed Leave in the referendum. I think that's very, very clear. And if they get somebody that goes back to basic principles of what conservatism, of what capitalism are all about, they might just get it back on the right track. But there's a deeper message here too, and it's this. When we voted Brexit, it wasn't just to leave the European Union. It was to stop being dominated by central London attitudes towards life, our country, and our trade. And people really thought with Brexit that a new politics, a new country was coming. And what they saw under Johnson was the same group of overprivileged, entitled people, most of whom had never had a proper job in their lives, the elite running the country. And I want the Conservative Party, I want the movement to pick somebody who doesn't come from a background of extreme privilege, and who was able to reach out and engage ordinary voters. And my view is, after 12 years now in power, if they don't do that, they will suffer a catastrophic loss at the next general election, which has to be held before the end of 2024.
Nigel, I think that both of our respective countries, depending on which side of the aisle you're on, there'll be finger pointing about a lack of decency and lying. And, I'm referencing the view of former President Trump. And when you were describing Boris Johnson earlier and how he shouldn't be staying on, I think you pointed to the dishonesty or dignity or ethics or all the things that you seem to overlook in your support of President Trump. So it makes me think that that's not really why you wanted Boris Johnson out. I think it has to do with the embrace of all the green ideals, raising taxes, and justifiable things that a conservative might say he disappointed on. Isn't that more true?
From my personal perspective, of course, I'm deeply disappointed at the direction he took us in. I'm disappointed that whilst Brexit's been done, it's not been done properly. There's a lot more work to do. But I'm telling you that the country, collectively, they can accept leaders that make mistakes, because we all make mistakes in our lives. What they can't accept are leaders that make mistakes, get into trouble, and then try to lie their way out. And it is that issue, above all, that has led to this catastrophic loss of trust.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.